Hello and welcome to my craft room. My name is Erica from Me to You Paper Crafts, coming to you with a fun fold today. I am using the lovely Country Flowers products, the bundle as well as the paper. I'm going to be using some Stampin' Blends to do a little bit of coloring, and I will give you the measurements as I go along, as well as enter them as a link to my shopping cart if you'd like to shop with me. So welcome. I invite you to watch this either on my Facebook page from Me to Paper Crafts, or you can also see it on my YouTube channel. So thanks for watching. Let's turn the camera down and get started. So I'll just pull my camera forward and down so you can see what I've got on my desk here. And let's straighten it out a little bit. There we go. Okay, and I'll just remove my keyboard, set that aside, and let's get started. So to start with, I did do some coloring because the image is very small and I wanted to get the coloring out of the way. I think most of you know how to color. I did use my Stampin' Blends, and I did use the Old Olive for the leaves, and I used the Bubble Bath for the flowers. And because these little flowers here are so tiny, I decided just to leave them white. There's a few leaves in there that I colored green, but most of it I left white. So we're going to be cutting this out. Let me show you the stamp set here. It's called Country Flowers. I love it because it has 3 different sort of floral arrangements, and then it's got a teapot here, and it's got a bucket here so that you can mount the flowers on top, and you've got this adorable little stool that you can put them on top. If you go to Pinterest and you look up Country Flowers, you'll see lots of examples, as well as, of course, the examples in the catalog. Now, this is a big suite. It comes with another stamp set called Country Birdhouse. Both of them have their own set of dies included. Also included in the suite of products are these basic gray and smoky slate little pearls that you can put on your projects, as well as a fun embossing folder called Eyelet. It makes a really, really pretty pattern. And to note, there is also a stamp inside the Country Flowers stamp set that coordinates with it so that you can, pull in some colors. I'll just show you a few cards that I have made already with this set. This is one here. This was a Case the Caddy. I do a Case the Caddy every Thursday night, and this is exactly what's in the catalog. So I made this one, and interestingly enough, I just stamped in my Memento Black on top of the Designer Series paper to get that wood grain stool. I also did it with this wraparound on the pot. I stamped that also, and I die cut that out of the paper so that you don't always have to do coloring. And then for this card, here's the eyelet. You can see the eyelet design in there. And then I just did a real simple sort of like a floor design, because one pack of paper comes with all kinds of wood grain papers, which is really, really pretty. I did use my blends to color the stool as well as the teapot this time. And then, of course, I did my blends on my plant as well. So I'm just really enjoying this stamp set, and I'm loving the colors. All right, let's get started. This I call a flip-flop card, and I always like to leave the card as a surprise for the end. So you can either craft along with me by pausing the video, or you can and take down the measurements and cut your papers and cardstock, or you can watch to the end and then do it later. So we're going to start with a card base. Now this card base doesn't open. It's just a quarter sheet of our regular cardstock. So it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. The first thing you want to do, of course, is pick out the Designer Series paper that you want to use. So I've chosen this wood grain piece, and you want to make sure that you like the back of it as well, because you're going to see both sides of this paper. So this is cut at 5 3/4 by 5 1/4, 5 1/4 being the length or the height of your card, and 5 3/4, and you're going to score it at 1 3/4. Okay, so this is the 5 3/4 edge. So you're going to put this to the top of your trimmer, and then you're going to score it at 1 3/4, and you're going to fold it over. Now, at this point, when we put the card together, you can decide whether you want the card to be like this, or you can fold it over this way and do the card like this. This is entirely up to you. Okay. So that's those two measurements there. And then you're going to want another coordinating piece of cardstock. So in this paper, we've got Misty Moonlight and we have Pool Party. So my card base is Pool Party, and I decided to go with the Misty Moonlight. So this piece measures 4 by 5.5, and you're going to score it at 2 3/4 because you're going to make a mini card. Okay. Now, as I said at the introduction, I will put these measurements in a shopping cart, and you can totally edit the shopping cart, or you can just jot down all the products that I use and then shop with your demonstrator. Okay. All right. So that's that. And then last but not least, you need 2 pieces of basic white that measure 2.5 by 3 3/4. And we're going to use one for the outside of this little mini card and for the inside of the card. Okay, so 2 pieces, 2.5 by 3 3/4. All right, so before we start putting the card together, I want to finish all my coloring and my stamping. So as I said earlier, I've done the flowers. So now I want to actually stamp this teapot. Now, again, as I said earlier, you can choose to avoid coloring. You could simply stamp this again on one of your DSPs to create a floral little teapot or a striped teapot or anything that you want. But I'm going to do a bit of coloring on here. Okay, and I've decided to make this, I'm going to kind of create a two-toned colored teapot. So I'm going to start with my pink, and this is our bubble bath color. So I'm going to color the spout in the pink. So I'm going to match my teapot with my flowers, I think. Not sure how this will turn out, but I just thought, let's give it a go and see. And I'll just do a little bit of the pink at the bottom here. Okay. And now I'm going to do a bit of shading. I'm going to take the dark bubble bath, and I'm just going to add some shadows in here. So kind of at the base and at the top of the handle. And then I'm going to come in on the sides here to do a bit of shading. So wherever you think there's going to be some shadows, you want to put in the darker color. Okay. So now I thought I would do a green teapot, and I might do a bit of striping. Let's just see how this goes. Now be very careful when you open these blends. They're very, very tight. So I'm just going to do a kind of a rough striping. This teapot I'm going to pretend is made out of clay, so there's always some imperfections in a clay teapot versus imperfections in fine bone china. Okay, let's do a little bit at the top here. So you can really and truly make any pattern that you like. And now I'm going to do the dark green in between. I am one of those rare people that really I do enjoy coloring. I find it extremely relaxing, and I love to watch how the colors work together and how they blend. All right, there's our little teapot. I'm going to cover up my ink pad. Okay. And then I'm going to cut these two pieces out. So I need the little teapot. And I do like to use tape to hold my my die cuts down, my dies down, because my plates are not exactly flat anymore. They're a bit warped. And so the die can actually move around on the acrylic pad, and then you get kind of a wonky die cut. So I'm just going to fit this on here and put some tape on it. Okay, and then I'm going to take this to my larger machine here just because it's really handy right next to me. So there's my funky little teapot with my flowers. Yeah, this floral arrangement is going to sit right on top of the teapot. Okay, now let's start putting our card together. Now, the first thing I want to do is glue down my designer series paper that I have scored. Again, I set it 1 3/4, and I'm going to put this, I kind of like the stripes on this left-hand side here, but like I said, you could flip it over and do it like this. So that's totally up to you how you want to do your card. So I can go ahead and glue this right down onto my cardstock. So I'm going to use my acrylic, or sorry, not my acrylic, my silicone mat here. I'm going to grab my tape runner and I'm going to run some tape here and down this side here. Okay. And then let's put, now there's a little bit of fluff down here. Sometimes when you cut your cardstock, you end up with little fluffy bits. Okay, so let's put this on our card base. So you have a bit of a border around it. Okay, now this card here, typically we open a card from left to right. Sorry, from right to left, I should say, but we're going to do it opposite and open it from the right. Okay, so it's going to tuck in and it's kind of going to center on the card. Now you can choose to put it right, butt it right up against the edge if you want, or you can center it. So I'm going to pretty well center it on the entire card. Okay, so this is going to be my focal point, and then I'm going to have a piece of cardstock on the inside with perhaps a greeting. So you can decide that ahead of time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I will do my internal greeting here. And I'm actually going to do something a bit different. I'm going to emboss one of the pieces that's going to go on the front. I'm going to emboss that in this eyelet using the eyelet embossing folder. And then I'm going to build my teapot on top. So let me go and do that. Emboss this front of the card with the eyelet embossing folder. It's very, very pretty. So I am removing all my plates except for the thick base plate, and I'm grabbing my embossing plate, which is plate number 4. It's the gray plate. If you happen to have our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And if you find that there's not much pressure as you roll it through, I keep extra pieces of like half sheets of cardstock, and then I run it through with a shim just to give it a little added texture. Each machine is calibrated a little bit, and there it goes on the floor. I apologize for that. But each machine is calibrated. Some are tighter than others. So by adding a shim, you can kind of control, how much texture you want on here. Okay. So this is going to go on the front of my card here. And because it's textured, I don't use my tape runner. I prefer to use Tombow glue. So let's just put a little Tombow glue on here. And then I'm going to glue this to the front of my card. Remember, it's backwards. So we'll position this on the front of the card. Okay. And then for the inside of the card, I am going to take advantage of this little tiny stamp. It's really tiny. There it is. It's pretty tiny. Oh, you can't even see it on my silicone mat. Let me just put my glue cap on here. I'm going to grab one of our little blocks. Here, now maybe you can see it. See, look how tiny that is. So you want to keep your eye on it so you don't lose it. And I'm going to pull out I have my stamp pads here somewhere. Here we go. So I actually picked out Misty Moonlight, which is one of the colors in the designer series paper, and Boho Blue is a lovely coordinating color. So I'm going to do some dark and some light little eyelets. I'll probably just do them along. I'm going to do it for the top, but I'm going to just put them here. So I'm going to do 2 of the dark ones here. And then I'm going to open up the Boho Blue. And I'm going to do a couple more here. Now, typically what I do for my card designs is I decorate the inside of my cards always, and then I match that with the envelope. Okay. So now I've done that. I'm going to, now, before you put this in the card, you want to decide whether or not you want a greeting on the inside of your card. You want to try and avoid stamping it after you put it in, just in case you get a bit of a smudge. But I'm going to leave it blank. I'm going to put this inside the card. Okay, so we have a bit of decoration on the inside of the card to match up with that embossed piece. And again, let me close my ink pad here. Okay, now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to be gluing this inside, okay? Now, to me, the best thing, if you're going to be kind of moving your cardstock around, then your Tombow glue is your best bet because you've got a little wiggle room, what I always call wiggle room. So I'm going to just put some Tombow on this card, the back of this mini card, not too close to the edges. Then I'm going to make sure you keep it open to fit this inside, just so that you can center it. And now I'm going to place it down and try and eyeball getting it centered and straight. And then I'm just going to hold it down for a few seconds. So this is where the name, and I think I made this up, flip flap card. So you flip and flap, or flip flop maybe is a better term. Flip flop is kind of how I came up with the name. There are other demonstrators, of course, that have made this fold, fun fold, but that's kind of what I call it. Okay. So now I'm going to build up my teapot and my flowers. So I'm going to put this all on with some dimensionals. So let me just grab those. Okay, I'm going to just use I think I've got some mini dimensionals for the flowers. And I've got some larger dimensionals here somewhere. So let's do the teapot. Okay, and then for the flowers, I'm going to put some dimensions. I'm going to glue the bottom of the flowers to the top of the teapot. But I'm going to put some mini, just grab my, take your pick tool. I'm just going to grab a couple of mini dimensionals for the top of those flowers, just to lift it off the page a little bit to give it a bit of dimension. So this is often what I do. So let me just put a bit of glue on the very top of that teapot, like so. Okay, so at the top, I've got a dimensional on the back right here, and I'm going to just glue this to the teapot and stick down that dimensional. Just going to hold that down for a couple of seconds. Okay, and there's the front of your card. So there you go. There's your flip-flap card. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll make one of these. I'd love for you to visit me live when I'm live. I go live Monday mornings for what I call Mojo Monday. And then I go live, and that's at 10 a.m. on Monday mornings. And then I go live on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. And those are both on my Facebook page called From Me to You Paper Crafts. So thank you so much for joining me. It was a delight having you here, or if you've been watching the replay, that's super too. Send me a like or a love. And if you think you have someone who would enjoy making this fun fold card, then please share my links. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.